Conor is one of the greatest athletes probably of all times. So he's has the right combination of the mind and the body and the talent. He just is. The two are connected so well with him, which I think is so important in athletic, that you believe 100% in your victory. And because when you believe it, when you see it, believe it, achieve it, that's the way it goes. And so with him you can see that. So he's a great athlete. He's also a fun guy to hang out with. And he is very good with improvisation. And just, he reminds me a little bit of the way I always was when I kind of grew up in bodybuilding. And the only way you get noticed is if you say outrageous things. And so he does that to get noticed. And because of that, because he's a great fighter and because of his personality, he now is becoming like the hottest ticket. I mean, his fight will be sold out everywhere and he will have the highest viewership.
Well, maybe he's going to be a big movie star like yourself someday.
I hope so. I think any athlete should always try to go and think about beyond the athletic career, because the athletic career only goes so far, and you can sometimes push it into the 30s or maybe get close to 40 or whatever it is, but from then on you really should start switching, even if it is within your own sport. If he wants to become a promoter, or if he wants to become an actor or a commentator of the thing, or a politician, or running a famous charity in the world, that is his passion or whatever it is. So I think it's great to branch out.
It's just a pure combat.
Conor, given the tradition of sport in this country, we have a proud tradition of Gaelic games, soccer, rugby and all the rest. How does a young lad from Crumlin get into mixed martial arts?
Well, I was no different growing up. I was always into football. You know what I mean? Growing up where I'm from, there's two things you were known for. You were either good at playing football or you could fight. And I was no different. Fighting was always something I was interested in. Football was what I wanted to do. Football was my first dreams. I always dreamt of playing. I always used to go out on my own. I was like 7, 8 years old and put on my football boots and run up and down kicking the ball, dreaming of playing in front of a big stadium. But just growing up then, I realised that I needed to be able to defend myself in certain situations. I just wanted to be able to defend myself, and it led me to combat sport and studying different ways the human body moves. And I was like nearly a mixed martial artist, but without even knowing I was. You know what I mean? I just basically wanted to defend myself in any scenario, and I used to go from gym to gym, trying to learn different ways.
When did you realise, at what age, that this was something you could carve out a career from?
Well, I moved from Crumlin when I was 16, 17, and I was doing it. I was still playing football at that time. I was doing MMA, and I was doing boxing, I was doing this and that. But then I met a guy when I moved up to Lucan from Crumlin who was doing jiu-jitsu. Tom Egan, his name was. And I was doing some boxing at the time, some kickboxing. And around the same time we started seeing the UFC on TV. And we just, every day in school, we'd talk about it. He'd show me some jiu-jitsu stuff. We'd be mess fighting in the class. I'd be showing him some boxing. He'd show me some submission moves. Eventually then I used to go up and stay up in his house up in Kildare. Literally stayed there the whole weekend. He'd teach me how to grapple. He'd teach me some techniques and I'd teach him some techniques. And basically we'd fight at the end of it. Two little 16-year-old kids out the back of his shed, the concrete floor. And we basically punched the head off each other, really. And then that was that, you know, and that was my first obsession with it, you know, and I thought, like, I still didn't think I could do it. I was just kind of, still in my thoughts was self-defense. I just wanted to be able to defend myself in any situation. Then he met my coach, John Kavanagh, my coach today, John Kavanagh, and found out that he had a proper gym. He also ran shows where you could actually compete properly. And that was it. The two of us went down, met John, and that was that. John showed us a different approach to combat sport, a different way of thinking, the professional way. You know what I mean? Even though we were in a little small shack, in a little hut, it was a professional approach to unarmed combat. And he introduced me to jiu-jitsu, which changed my whole approach. It made me look at the finer details of combat. And then that was it. I was hooked. When I knew he had shows, I knew it was there. I knew I could get that ladder. You know, I knew I had something. I had a fascination with it. And even if it didn't, I couldn't shut it off. So I just rolled with it. Kept showing up every day. Got my ass whooped a couple of times. Whooped a couple of asses. Eventually, I became really good, and that's that.
You keep mentioning there that you're doing this, or you had, when you were starting out, you were doing it to defend yourself. Were you bullied when you were younger?
I definitely wasn't bullied. I definitely wasn't bullied. But you know, as you're growing up and you're walking around, I used to live in a little estate, and when you explore outside that estate, you start meeting new people, and then fights would happen. Boys, you know what I mean? Young boys would fight, but it just stuck in my head a little bit more. When something like that happened, it was always in my head. I'd go back and think about it. I think about what happened, what position happened, and just think about things. I wasn't necessarily bullied or nothing like that, you know what I mean? Have my friends grew up. It's just, Crumlin's a tough area, you know what I mean? It's just the way it was as growing up, but it just probably, like, maybe people might just went on with the day and forgot about it. Me, I just kind of sat back and thought about it a lot more, and it led me to the gym.
This is your life, it's your job. Did you ever have, let's call it a normal job, Conor, a 9 to 5?
Yeah, because the Irish thing is to get into a trade straight away. I was no different. As soon as I finished school, I was always getting pestered. What are you doing with your life? You're doing this, doing that. They didn't know what it was. They didn't know what MMA was. They didn't know what none of this. They didn't know I could make a career out of it. As far as they were concerned, my man and dad I'm talking about, as far as they were concerned, I was just getting into a cage and fighting with some other guy. They didn't know nothing about it. No one did, really. But I knew. You know what I mean? I knew. But and then I ended up getting a trade just to keep them quiet. Because I used to have a lot of fights with my dad.
What trade did you get?
I ended up getting a trade as a plumber. Literally up in the back arse of nowhere, up in the Wicklow Mountains. And funny enough, that site was one of the biggest sites in Europe. Kilternan. It was right at that skiing place. Huge. And now it's just abandoned. Now it's just deserted. So I used to go up there 5 o'clock in the morning. I was on that M50. I used to have to walk to the N4 about half an hour from my house, wait for some Limerick guy that I didn't even know. He'd drive on the M4 and I'd have to flag him down. Nightmare, yeah. 2 hours down on the M50, 2 hours back. Literally 14-hour days, and I was the first year, so I had to go and do everything. I had to go to the shop. I had to go and get this and get that. So I always had trouble with that, and I was like, this isn't for me. This is not for me.
How long did you last?
I lasted 18 months doing it, but it was tough, you know what I mean? It wasn't the life for me, you know what I mean? And then John said, because I was training with John as well at the time, and then John got in touch and says, I have a show. I'm running a show. I'd like to fight on it, and then that was it. I just packed it in, didn't show up. My dad used to come in and punch the head out of me and like try and drag me out of bed, and I just wouldn't go. You know what I mean? I had uproar for a good few years with him over, but and that was it. I just packed it in, quit, and then focused on training. And I knew what was going to happen. I knew I was going to get here. They didn't. There was a lot of stressful years. You know what I mean? A lot of tough times, but I proved them wrong. I proved myself right.
What makes you such a good fighter?
I don't know. I'm just curious about it. It's never. I mean, it's in my head 24/7. There's nothing else I can think. I don't think about nothing else. And that's it. I'm just curiously fascinated with it, and I can't stop thinking about it. Everything I do in my life is related to this. I don't do nothing else if it's not got to do with fighting. You know what I mean? And that is why. You know what I mean? To be truly good at something, all you've got to do is show up.
Is that not unhealthy?
I don't know. Do I look unhealthy? Take a look at this physique. I'm in phenomenal shape, in body and mind. To me, what's unhealthy is living an unhealthy life. To me, what's unhealthy is getting up and going through the same day every day of your life, 9 to 5, in an office or in a. You know what I mean? That's unhealthy. That beats your mind. I don't work. I love what I do, and that's why I'm doing what I love. You know what I mean? That's why it's become a career for me, because I love it. I love what I do. So I don't think it's unhealthy. I feel good in my mind. I mean, it's my life.
What has the last 6-7 months been like for you, Conor?
A lot different. You know what I mean? Get a lot more spotlight is on now. I'm no different. I don't do nothing any different. I still come to the gym. There's people trying to get me to do this and get me to do that. But I know that in order to be successful at this game, it needs to be 24/7. I need to be living in this gym. And that's since this new facility, SBG Concord, has opened up, the setup now is I come here at 1, 2 o'clock in the day, and I'm here till Perfect.